it's tucked in under the petal on top. So now I'm going to go in and get some of my opera rose on and get that to mix and mingle with that darker rose I put on. And again, I keep going back to my towel and dabbing my brush, and now I cleaned it out and I dabbed it again, and now I want to pull it out so that I get that very light edge of this petal. Light brings forward, dark pushes back. That's how that works. And I'm going to try and see if I can maybe drag a little bit of the petal color out. Kind of give this shape. There we go. Good enough for now. Let's do this one. And that is this one. So it has a very light edge there. Let's remember that. And again, just want to check some of those lines out. And can you see how, isn't it beginning to look like a flower now? So question, I didn't freehand this. I usually use my light box and then I trace and then I make my own adjustments. I do a pretty basic trace, and then I go in afterwards and fine tune the lines so that I understand them. For a painting like this, where I want to follow along and do a lesson, I find that's the easiest. So that was Deborah that asked that. But if you're a good drawer and you like to draw, you know, that's totally a great option too. So we wanted to do this one here, and I want to get my number 8 brush, and then we are making a mental note to ourselves that this side is very light, and that's because our light is actually, we didn't talk about that, but our light is coming from there. That's why there's reflections in the eye and on the wings on this side. And again, that's why this petal is light on that side and it's a little bit dark on this other side. It's always good to know where your light is coming from. So I'm going to go in and start with a little bit darker, and I want to have it darker than that color because it's underneath, right? So we always want to have, oops, there's a hair. Always want to have our petal below a little bit darker than the petal above. So that you push down the petal that's below. And that's why I like to put some blue in, because, you know, cool pushes down, remember, and light brings forward. And I want to have it a little darker, like that. Just run up and then clean it out, and a little bit of the opera rose on, and then I'm going to go in here and go all the way out to the edge here. And I wanted to remember that this side is a lighter because it's actually the petal turned over and catching the light. So right now you can't really tell that because we need to darken underneath, but if I darken here, it's going to flow out because everything's wet, so we have to wait with that. But remember, in watercolor, we paint from light to dark. Light to dark. So it's better to err or start out lighter than you want to end up. And I just put a little bit of a darker color on the tip of my brush because I wanted to get a little bit of texture on. I think I need a little texture here. There. Kind of like that. You can see. It's, you know, since the photograph is blown up a lot, there's a lot of the detail has been lost, but that's okay because that I like to make up myself. So we can paint this one. That's this one. And I will just get the lines here. This is also a little too much. So let's just put some water on this one. And put that darker color underneath here. And here I'm going quite dark. Just want to get a little drama in here. So that is permanent magenta with a little bit of the cobalt blue in. There. And then rinse it out and get some more of my Opera Rose and introduce that. And we want to make sure we don't get any of those hard edges inside the petal if we can help it. Unless, you know, and these edges are not hard either. They are like flowy and soft. That's what we want inside. And I'm going to rinse it out a little bit. Make sure I don't have too much water on. And then we're going to pull it out like that. And like this. There you go. And I'm just going to pull out while I can with the tip of my brush. Can you see how I get a little bit of texture that way? Soft and nice. And there. There we have that. And slowly but surely our flower is coming to life. And then we'll go over and do this petal here. Same procedure. I'm going to kind of take the pencil lines out as much as I can and still see what's going on. So that's this one here. So that's this one here. So this edge is catching some light and it's darker in there. So here we go. My water is slightly pink, but that's okay, I can live with that. As long as I get paint on fairly quickly, I should be okay. And actually, let's see, quite dark again. Put a little bit of that in. Let's get some drama in here. Pull that out like that and like that. And then I rinse it out and get some of that pale Opera Rose in. Pale and bright. Let that just kind of mix in here. And dabbing off my brush. Maybe I should clean it out and just get a little bit more of the pure bright opera rose in and get my tip nice and light. Nice and light, almost white. There. And then I want to get a little bit of that darker color on my brush, the tip of my brush. And I want to take it out of there. Dab in a little bit more darkness right there while we can. And it has this kind of a line